Hello everybody, it's Donna. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today is day number 13 of the 31 Days Craft Challenge put on by Scrimpingmommy over in the UK. Challenge has actually ended at the end of January, but I only made it to, I think, 11, so I'm going to continue on my own. We're going to be doing these Valentine's Day cards. I have used this stamp set and die set in many videos before, but it just goes to show you how versatile our products are. The stamp set is shown on the screen there, as well as the dies, which are the Be Mine Stitch Framelit dies, which show many hearts, etc. that you can make with them. This one's a little bit different. The card that I made is a little bit different than the ones I usually do. I'm going to use some of the dies that are in here, some of those heart dies that form complete hearts, and I'm going to actually cut them out of some blank stencil material. I'm going to die cut them out of blank stencil material. It works fine. If you're concerned, I just wouldn't do it then. You're going to need some ink. I'm using Flirty Flamingo and a little piece of sponge, as well as some Versamark and the embossing buddy to go along with that. I'm going to use a piece of the silver glittery paper at 4 1/8 by 5 5/8, plus a little bit of a scrap. You're going to need white, 4 pieces of white, because we're going to be making 2 cards, at 5 1/4 by 4, and then a little scrap of white. You're going to need another border piece the same as the silver, and then 1 full sheet of Flirty Flamingo just cut in half to form the 2 cards. Okay, here is the stencil material that I purchased off of Amazon to make the stencils out of. This particular set is still available on Amazon, but the price went up, so I'm sure there's others that you can also purchase. There's the stencils that I did cutting. I basically cut all the hearts out that I thought I could use. I didn't end up using all of them, but I would keep them anyways. You also get, this is the negative space I'm using, but you also get the many little inside hearts. You can use this Aliens tack it over and over on the back so that it doesn't shift, but I didn't really have a problem with this one, so I didn't bother using that. So we're going to be making the 2 cards, and we're going to be stenciling a pattern on the front of both of them using Flirty Flamingo. Just move the camera in a little bit. With the sponge, I'm just holding it down gently. Well, I'm holding it down securely, but sponging gently around, and just keep doing it over and over until I got the saturation of color that I wanted. And I'm just going to move that heart around. You do have to be careful that you don't go over the edge and get part of the card that you didn't want covered in ink. On this one, I didn't really particularly want them to be overlapping, but on the next card, I actually did want them to be overlapping. You do want to make sure that you do go off the card so that it looks like it was almost like pattern paper. You will see my husband's finger, or thumb I guess it was, as he politely pointed out to me that I was off the paper. Hence why I do voiceovers. Just taking my Tombow Mono Sand Eraser to erase any of the little spots that I may have gotten over, and just finishing up some of the edges that I felt were a little blank still. Okay, so once that one's finished, we're going to bring in the other sheet and do the stenciling for the other card. The other card basically just uses 3 hearts. I'm going to be doing 3 hearts on it. What I like about doing it this way, or where they overlap, is you can actually just use maybe 2 colors and overlap them, and you will get a 3rd color, which I'm going to show you an example of later. I just think that would be kind of cool, like for I don't know, balloons, or if you just want more variety of colors on your page. I'm using the scalloped edge heart for this one, and I'm just going, as I said, just going to do it the 3 times, and then I'm going to be heat embossing other items on top of those hearts. And then just using my sand eraser again to erase any of the mistakes. This sand eraser is awesome to have in your toolkit. Okay, with this piece of, the bigger piece of silver glimmer paper, I'm going to, that's for the mat, for the one card, but I'm going to cut out 2 hearts out of the center of it. One's going to be used for on the card, the other ones I'm just going to put away. It would just be a shame to waste all that glimmer paper that you're not going to see underneath the card. So that's the heart that we're going to do. And it actually cuts out 2. It cuts out like a frame and then an actual heart. And there we go. So there's the 2. And as you can see, that would be just a waste because you can't see that all that underneath. So you might as well utilize that space. So I'm using the 1 and I'm putting the other pieces just aside and I'll use them for something else. Okay, so using the smaller piece of scrap silver paper, I'm going to be cutting out those little hearts in the border. I'm not using the border part. I just want to utilize the little hearts from the center for my cards as embellishments. Now I'm going to take the stamps from the stamp set, the 3 hearts, and I'm going to heat emboss some white on each of them. So using Embossing Buddy first and then Versamark to stamp on the 3 images on the center of each of the hearts. The middle heart will have my sentiment. And then I will take white heat embossing powder and sprinkle it on top and then heat them to melt the embossing powder. Okay, once I've heat embossed the white embossing powder, I'm going to take a white gel pen and just go around the middle heart with a stitched border. Then I decided that that wasn't enough and I did a double stitched border instead. That just gave it more definition, the heart more definition, as the other 2 images did have a lot of definition and that one did not. Once that's done, I'm going to take the glitter hearts silver glitter hearts that I cut out, and using mini glue dots, attach them to my piece. Try to work in odd numbers. This does add quite a bit to the project. Using the mini glue dots makes them go on very easily with no extra glue underneath or anything like that, even though I have used glue in the past. Now I decided that I still wanted more because the one heart didn't have a lot of design in the center of it, so I did use the gel pen and put a double stitch line on the inside just to kind of fill that heart in just a little bit more. Okay, so for the next card, I'm going to use the outline heart. It's going to go in the center of the card, but I wanted to put my sentiment on a piece of white, so I just die cut out of the scrap white one of the same hearts, but this time I'm using the complete heart for my sentiment. Just trying to get rid of the piece of frame heart that's left in the die, which I'm not going to use this time, but we will put it away for another time. To attach the frame heart to my piece, I'm going to use the fine line glue pen. And you don't see me do it, but off camera I kind of tapped it onto a scrap piece so I don't have all the glue squishing out onto my project. Any extra glue. Now for the heart, I do want to heat emboss the sentiment in Fleur de Flamingo. Now that's a dye ink, so a lot of people feel you can't emboss. You can emboss with a dye ink. You just have to be really fast. But in order for me to have a nice finish and to make it so I don't have to work that fast, I did tap my stamp into Versamark first and then tapped it into the color. And then I sprinkled on clear embossing powder and heat set it. Now if you're worried about contaminating your ink pad with Versamark, then obviously I would just tell you then don't do it. For me, I want to use my stamps and my inks as often and as much as I can, so I wasn't that worried about contaminating it with a little bit of the Versamark. You can't really tell in the picture, but in real life, the added dimension on the Happy Valentine's Day is really pretty. Using stamping dimensionals, I'm going to pop up that heart right in the center. Now I'm going to put the cards together using liquid glue. There's a glimmery piece. The other piece for that particular card, I'm using dimensionals just so it's popped up a little bit higher. And then I'm going to put the heart on there by just removing the release paper off those dimensionals that we placed earlier. Now I decided for the bling on this card I would use just some basic rhinestones. For the second heart, what I had done was I had put the paper piece on, but I had glued it crooked, so it just didn't work. So I started over with a new base, and I didn't bother putting in the paper piece behind. It doesn't look bad, it looks good, but the paper piece would just add an extra element to the card. Now for the inside of the card, I'm just stamping a little heart down in the corner of each of the pieces. And that heart is obviously from the same stamp set. Now I'm just going to attach it with some liquid adhesive, both of those pieces with liquid adhesive to the inside. And those two cards are done. So there's a close-up picture of them. And this is the one I was talking about where if you go over, you can overlap the colors and you end up like there's a green in there and there's a purple in there that I didn't actually have to begin with. I only used blue, yellow, actually blue and yellow and a red, I believe it was, primary colors to make the other ones. My host code for February is on the screen as usual. Any orders over $50 will receive a small gift from me. If you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe, and we will catch you next time.